Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and do you remember when DreamWorks went out of their way to be the exact opposite of Disney for no other reason than they knew people wanted something that was the opposite of Disney? Well, I do, but it looks like that is a trend that has gone out the window, at least according to this article. How to Train Your Dragon remake in live action reportedly underway. Alright, taking the Disney train of thought and taking movies that are classic animations and transferring them to live action for a quick nostalgia buck, even though they will inherently be a far inferior project. Oh, let's take a look at this and lament the fail of DreamWorks. What's next? Shrek live action? According to a new report, the beloved How to Train Your Dragon franchise could be preparing to make the jump from animation to live action. The How to Train Your Dragon trilogy has quickly cemented itself as one of the most beloved in film history, with a fervent fan base all around the world. Yeah, it really has. I'm going to be completely honest. I've never seen a lick of these movies all the way through, not a single one. I've seen bits and pieces of them here and there. I think by the time the first one came out, I was already soured on some of the things that both Disney and DreamWorks were doing, but I know a lot of individuals who love these movies, and I'm not going to deny they're good. It's apparently even one of the few series that holds up as the sequels continue, which, man, I will give it credit for. Again, not my thing, but I don't want to see this in live action. I haven't even seen it in animation, and I don't know a lot of other individuals that are going to want to see this in live action. This just doesn't scream like the type of film that needs live action. If anything, it's cool to have this sort of niche fantasy thing with dragons and swords and armor in CG. We don't get that very often, especially not geared towards kids. So, who is this going to be for? The first film sports a ridiculous 99% on Rotten Tomatoes, with the franchise making over $1.5 billion at the box office for Universal since arriving in 2010. Since releasing in 2010, Hiccup's Adventures with the Dragons of Berk, I assume that's maybe the land they're in, have taken up residence with some of the biggest names in animation, receiving heaps of praise, usually reserved for the likes of Pixar. Yeah, it's because this movie was a direct competitor to Pixar. I mean, when I saw the advertisements for this, like I said, I was pretty, kids movied out. I was right in that sort of transition period where I just didn't care anymore. That being said, these movies have always looked gorgeous. Anytime that I've seen the bits and pieces I've seen, they've been on like a nice Blu-ray setup or some big screen TV with some gorgeous picture. These movies look great. Like when they're flying on the dragon and you can see the way their hair is blowing in the wind. It is very, very detail oriented. However, now it seems the How to Train Your Dragon name is about to become a whole lot bigger. No, making it live action will not make it bigger, except it will make it more hated. I mean, take any Disney live action remake. Has it gotten bigger? Did Aladdin get bigger? Did Lion King get bigger? Did Beauty and the Beast get bigger? Or what about Sleeping Beauty, with Maleficent? Going live action does not make them bigger. Maybe it makes a lot of money for cheap nostalgia grabs, but then you just have the internet clowning on how skeevy it is to do this. So already this article has me a bit worried about how they're going to present this, whether or not they're going to think it's a good thing, but then again, that's just me. Let's continue. According to insider Daniel Rickman, a live-action How to Train Your Dragon project is in the works at Universal. In a post on Rickman's Patreon, the insider wrote the franchise writer-director Dean DeBlois would head up the venture, with nothing more to say on the subject. Dean DeBlois writing and directing a live-action version of How to Train Your Dragon for Universal. It is unknown at this time if this would be a continuation, expansion of How to Train Your Dragon, a story already told, or perhaps a live-action retelling of the 2010 film that kicked the franchise off. Hiccup and Toothless in live action. It's not groundbreaking to say How to Train Your Dragon has become a juggernaut for Universal and DreamWorks. The adventures of these Viking dragon riders has turned into a multimedia venture akin to Toy Story, Shrek, and Despicable Me. That's not groundbreaking to say. That's entirely accurate. And I know for sure that if someone tried to do a live-action remake of Toy Story, it would get destroyed. I mean, we saw what happened to Lightyear. That movie got destroyed, and it was still CGI. When you destroy lore, when you destroy characters, when you destroy franchises, when you destroy goodwill with your customers, people get blasted. A live-action Toy Story, I can only imagine the backlash that's usually, reserved for the toxic Star Wars community. Shrek, look, I don't know how big the Shrek fandom goes. I don't know if it's more of an internet meme or culture thing, or if there actually is a fandom for Shrek, but I can absolutely tell you, you try to do it in live action, people are going to lose their goddamn minds. Like, there's no reason that this needs to be done. Because, yeah, How to Train Your Dragon is up there with Toy Story. It is up there with Shrek. And it should stay up there as an animation-only project. We don't need live-action versions of absolutely everything. Rarely does it improve these projects. DeBlois' Ferocious franchise has come a long way from its simple beginnings as a little-known single animated feature. Since 2010, the franchise has received a number of Oscar nominations, spawned numerous sequels, and even ventured into the world of TV with a number of animated streaming series. So with all this in mind, it makes total sense for Universal to want to capitalize on the name and bring the brand to live action. No, that doesn't make sense. Here's something I will never get about movie studios. They don't actually understand their fans, their customer base, or anything to that effect, because if they did, we wouldn't have gotten half the decisions we got in the recent Star Wars movies. We wouldn't be getting an Indiana Jones 5. We wouldn't be getting live-action Disney remakes. These aren't just things that I don't like. This isn't just me being like, oh, well, here's Leon, he's a fan of movies, and throwing a fit about, Disney and capitalism and capitalizing on remakes and nostalgia. Like, this is how the majority of individuals feel. Yes, you have Disney adults who go out and they spend money on pretty much anything Disney related. But go look at any movie review for any of these live action remakes that are on YouTube. They're not good. They're called soulless. Even some of the biggest Disney shills out there will talk about how the live action movies are not as good as the original, about how they're nostalgia bait, about how they're cash grabs. And yeah, Disney makes a bunch of money on them, but that's because people have to pay for them to go see them, to see that they're garbage. I mean, how much money did Lightyear lose? I don't remember, but it was a whole lot of money. And again, that wasn't even a live-action remake. That was just a tertiary spin-off. Disney doesn't know their audience, and apparently neither does DreamWorks or Universal. I thought that maybe DreamWorks did, because for the most part, they've been doing everything right that Disney's been doing wrong. I guess maybe only Illumination knows their audience. They get banger after banger with those Minions and Despicable Me movies, and now they've got a Mario movie coming out that looks awesome. So I guess they're the only ones that know their audience. But yeah, bringing this to live action, Universal wanting to capitalize on it, that's not what makes a series good. We don't just see something that's CG, see something that's animated and be like, I want to see that in live action. That's not how it works. There has to be a genuinely good reason to bring something animated to live action, and 9 times out of time, there isn't, because you're actually more limited with live action than you are with animation. Plus, what's going to be the point of doing this movie in live action when it's going to be mostly CGI anyway, with CGI special effects, CGI backgrounds, CGI dragons? At that point, what you're really saying is, we're going to put live action actors in a room of green screens and do the graphics more realistically. We're going to make it more like a PS5 video game than a children's animated property. So it's not even really live action, minus the real life actors you're putting in it. And while these jumps from animation to live action can sometimes fall flat, i.e. Disney's Dumbo, Aladdin, and The Lion King, having Dubois on board is a huge vote of confidence for this thing coming out right. How to Train Your Dragon is Dean Dubois' baby, so seeing him get the chance to bring the world of Hiccup and Toothless to a wider audience is one that should be celebrated. But you're not necessarily bringing it to a wider audience. I don't know why they think that's the case. There aren't going to be more people that see it just because it's live action. If someone's a 40-year-old dude that likes Dungeons and Dragons, they probably already saw this movie. Or if they didn't because this movie is for children, they're going to see a live-action version of this and think, oh, it's just a remake of a live-action movie for children. I'm sure if it's a remake, now granted, they have not said it's going to be a remake, but if it is a remake, well then it's still just a remake of a kids movie. It would still have, I assume, the PG rating. It would still have the same sort of jokes for children. It would still have the same whimsical story for children. I'm not saying adults can't enjoy this. Again, I know plenty of adults that enjoy these movies, and the bits I've seen, I did enjoy. I'm just not nostalgic for them or anything like that, because it's a bit after my time. What I'm getting at is that, assuming this is a remake, there's not an audience for this that doesn't already love this. And if it's not a remake, if it's a completely new live-action story, well, then you're really going to have to sell us on what's going to make this different and worth seeing, as opposed to the traditional CGI ones that have made $1.5 billion collectively, as this article already pointed out. What do you have to add by putting live-action actors in it, again, with full CGI, green screen, special effects, and creatures, the whole nine? Sell me on a reason for this movie to exist. That's what I want you to do. Sell me on a reason for a film like this to exist. Little is currently known about the live-action How to Train Your Dragon project, but it is an exciting prospect for fans to now have on the radar. Well, we obviously know how I feel about this already. I don't think it's exciting at all. I don't know of any How to Train Your Dragon fans that are excited about this, but if you're watching, let me know in the comments below if you're excited or not. I mean, I could be totally off base, but to me, it doesn't make sense to get excited for this because it seems like just another nostalgic cash grab. People are apparently already nostalgic for as little as 11 years ago. I mean, I thought the nostalgia was still in the 90s era, but no, I guess we're nostalgic for 11 years ago, so what does that say about us as a culture? But yeah, maybe this is something that individuals are excited for. Me just hearing that this is being announced, that this is being worked on, that this is underway, that's not enough for me. With the state of Hollywood, the state that Hollywood has been in for the last several years, I don't see a reason for anyone to look at this and get excited or think of it as a win. But maybe you have different opinions, so let me know those. Like I said, in the comments below or on Twitter, where you can find me at BoltTheWord. And please subscribe and check out the back catalog. I got plenty more nerdy news videos about movies, anime, Dungeons & Dragons, Magic the Gathering, video games, you name it, and you can find it in the back catalog. So please subscribe because it's here in the Nerdosphere. This has been Words of Paradise.